Mama, your hands are cold now. The fire has left your face.
Mummy, wake up, please. Don't leave us in this world alone. How are we going to survive?
Don't leave this place. Don't go. Don't go. We are still your children. We are not ready.
3 years after losing their mother, Sally had become the kind of person life did not allow to rest. She already carried responsibilities that felt too heavy for her age. Every morning before the sun fully came out, she was awake, prepping red oil, heating water, preparing for the market. Surviving had become her routine.
Sally lost her mama, Papa don't go before. So pikin remain for compound. Who go open?
Sally, Mama Bozo said I can help her carry goods after school. She said she'll pay me. No, but we need the money. You need school.
Sally, no. I don't want you stressing yourself like me. I'm tired of watching you do everything alone. Focus on your books. Leave the rest for me.
Not long after, Sally balanced the kegs carefully and began her long walk to the market. The village was already busy. When she finally reached the market, the usual noise swallowed her immediately. Sally had been selling palm oil in the same corner since she was 16, the same small stall, the same measuring cups, the same tired routine. Only one thing had changed. Her mother was no longer sitting beside her.
Look who finally arrived. You're early today. How much did you make yesterday? Enough. Matty won't let me rest if I don't make money. How is she? She's Matty, always comparing, always counting what other people have. Matty was on my neck this morning again. Esther, go, the money won't come to the house.
Esther's stall was directly opposite hers. She sold provisions, seasoning cubes, groundnut oil, canned food, rice, sugar. The two girls had grown up together and everybody in the village knew they were inseparable. As the morning dragged on, customers came slowly, too slowly. Sally kept glancing at the remaining kegs while quietly calculating rent, food, and junior school fees in her head. Then, sometime in the afternoon, an old woman entered the market. Nobody knew her. She moved slowly from stall to stall, carrying a small empty bowl.
My children, please help me with a little palm oil. My pot is empty.
This is market, not charity house.
Most traders ignored her. Some chased her away. The old woman nodded quietly and kept moving. Eventually, she stopped in front of Sally's stall.
My daughter, please help me with a little oil. God will bless you.
Sally looked at the woman carefully. Her clothes were old. Her face looked tired. Then, without asking questions, she picked up her measuring cup and poured oil into the woman's bowl. The woman blinked slowly in surprise.
You didn't ask questions.
I know what an empty pot feels like.
What is your name?
Sally.
Sally, I will come back for you.
Then she turned and walked away into the noisy market crowd. Sally watched her leave without fully understanding why those words stayed in her chest. Across the market, Esther had seen everything. She stood quietly at her stall, pretending to arrange provisions, but her eyes remained fixed on Sally and the old woman disappearing into the crowd. The next morning, Sally arrived at the market earlier than usual. She arranged her kegs carefully and sat down quietly, hoping the day would somehow be better than the last one. But as the hours passed, almost nobody stopped at her store. Sally kept forcing herself to stay calm, but inside, worry was slowly eating her up. Rent was overdue, junior school fees were coming soon. The little money she had left at home could barely buy food for 2 more days. She sat there staring at her unsold kegs when suddenly she noticed someone standing in front of her store. It was the old woman, Nana. This time, she was not carrying the empty bowl. Sally quickly sat up straight.
Mama, good morning.
I told you I would come back.
Sally smiled politely, though she still didn't fully understand why the woman had returned.
You helped me when your own hands were empty. Very few people do that.
Before Sally could respond, Nana slowly reached into the folds of her wrapper and brought out something small, a bracelet. It looked old and simple, made with dark beads and a strange smooth stone at the center. But somehow, the stone reflected light differently from everything around it. Nana stretched it towards Sally.
Wear this whenever you come to the market.
Mama, what is it?
There are 2 things you must never do. Never let water touch it, and never tell anyone about it.
The seriousness in the woman's voice made Sally uncomfortable. For a moment, she almost refused to collect it, but something about Nana's eyes stopped her. Slowly, she stretched out her hand. Nana personally tied the bracelet around Sally's wrist.
The bracelet, oh, the bracelet. Some things money cannot buy. The bracelet, oh, the bracelet.
Remember my warnings.
Then before Sally could ask another question, the old woman turned and disappeared into the crowd once again. Sally sat there staring at the bracelet on her wrist. Nothing about it looked special. In fact, it looked ordinary. She almost laughed at herself for taking the whole thing seriously. Then suddenly, a customer stopped at her stall.
Give me 4 bottles.
Before Sally finished measuring the oil, another customer arrived, then another, then another. Within 1 hour, her store became unusually busy. People who normally walked past her suddenly stopped to buy. Women called other women over. Buyers kept coming. Sally barely had time to sit down. By afternoon, all her kegs were empty, completely empty. Sally stood there staring at her stall in shock. That had never happened before, not once. Across the market, Esther watched everything carefully. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Something was wrong. The next day, it happened again, and the day after that. Soon, Sally became one of the busiest sellers in the market. Money finally started entering the house again. The overdue rent got paid, food returned to the kitchen, Junior's school fees were complete for the first time in months. Even Junior began to notice the difference. One evening, as Sally returned from the market smiling faintly to herself, Junior looked at her suspiciously.
You sold everything again? Again?
God has finally remembered us.
That night, for the first time in a very long time, they ate comfortably without counting every spoon of food. But while Sally slowly relaxed into this new life, somebody else was watching quietly. Esther. Every single day, Esther watched Sally's store become busier. Every single day, she noticed the bracelet on Sally's wrist. At first, she ignored it, but after 2 full weeks of impossible sales, she could no longer ignore the feeling growing inside her chest. One afternoon, after Sally sold out once again before noon, Esther walked over pretending to smile casually.
Business is really moving for you these days. I thank God.
Esther's eyes dropped briefly to Sally's wrist. The bracelet. Sally noticed immediately and adjusted her hand slightly.
Where did you get that bracelet? Nowhere. It's just an old bracelet.
Esther nodded slowly, but her eyes remained fixed on it. And in that moment, a dangerous thought quietly entered her mind. That bracelet was connected to Sally's success.
The bracelet, oh, the bracelet. Some things money cannot buy. The bracelet, oh, the bracelet. Now the love will never die. Esther, you chop her trust, oh, but Sally, where God don't cover.
One afternoon after market, Esther and Sally were walking home together when Esther suddenly sighed deeply. Sally looked at her.
What happened? Nothing. What is it? Things are hard at home, Sally. Matty has been disturbing me every day about money. Every single day. Sometimes I even avoid going home early because I know she'll start shouting the moment I enter. Last week there was no food in the house. Not even Gary. What? I boiled water and told Matty I already ate outside. Esther? I'm serious. Sometimes I just get tired. But things suddenly change for you. You're lucky, at least God remembered you.
Sally forced a smile, but she said nothing. That night, Esther's words stayed in her head. The next Saturday morning, the two girls went together to the stream to wash clothes like they used to when life was simpler. The village was still quiet when they arrived. Birds chirped softly around them while water moved gently over the rocks. For some time, both girls washed silently. Then Esther spoke again.
Sally, you know you can tell me anything, right? Of course. Then tell me the truth. The truth about what? That bracelet. Sally, I'm your friend. I've known you since we were children. I know something changed after that old woman came. You suddenly started selling out every day. Your life changed almost immediately. And ever since then, you've been wearing that bracelet.
If you don't want to tell me, it's fine. Maybe I'm not as important to you as I thought. Don't say that. Then why are you hiding things from me?
You cannot tell anybody. I swear it. You remember last week when my store was quiet and I was just sitting there staring at my kegs? Yes.
Sally told Esther everything about Nana, about the bracelet, about the sudden flood of customers, about how her life completely changed after wearing it. Esther listened carefully without interrupting once. But in the middle of explaining everything, Sally forgot something important, very important. She forgot to mention the warning about water.
And nobody knows? Nobody. I won't tell anybody, I promise.
Sally smiled in relief. For the first time since receiving the bracelet, she finally felt lighter sharing the secret with someone she trusted. The two girls finished washing and walked home together looking almost normal again. But while Sally felt relieved, Esther felt something else entirely. That night, Esther lay awake staring at the reeling ceiling inside her dark room. Her mind kept replaying everything Sally had told her. The bracelet, the customers, the money, the success. Slowly, Esther turned on her bed and stared into the darkness. Then finally, a dangerous thought entered her mind. What if the bracelet belonged to her instead?
Esther, you chopper, trust but Sally where God uncover.
For the next few days, Esther watched Sally carefully without making it obvious. She noticed everything. She noticed that Sally removed the bracelet before bathing every morning. She noticed that Sally hid it under her pillow. She noticed the exact time Junior usually left for school. And most importantly, she noticed the exact moment Sally's room became empty. The thought scared Esther at first, but the more she struggled against it, the stronger it became, until finally she stopped fighting it completely. Very early one Wednesday morning, a few seconds later, Sally came out carrying a bucket and towel before entering the bathroom. Esther's heart began beating loudly. This was her chance. She quickly looked around. Nobody. Slowly, she entered the compound. She moved quickly toward the bed. She lifted the pillow. There it was, the bracelet. She quickly grabbed it. She placed the pillow back exactly the way she found it and rushed out of the room quietly. Seconds later, she disappeared from the compound completely.
The bracelet, now the love will never die. Sally, oh, your story never finish. Sally, oh, the bracelet remain, oh.
She froze. The bracelet was gone. Immediately, panic hit her chest. She searched again. Nothing. Soon she was searching everywhere frantically.
The bracelet, oh, the bracelet. Now the love will never die. Even when this wicked world want to make you cry.
Meanwhile, Esther had already traveled to another market in a neighboring village where nobody knew her. Customers began coming, fast, very fast. One woman bought provisions, another followed, then another. Soon, Esther's store became crowded. People kept buying non-stop. By afternoon, almost everything she brought was gone, completely gone. Esther stood there staring at the money in front of her, more money than she had made. It was true. The bracelet really worked. And for the first time in a very long time, Esther felt powerful, excited, important. Greed slowly replaced the guilt completely. That evening, she returned home happier than she had been in months. But instead of going straight home, she went to Sally's house, pretending nothing had happened. She met Sally sitting outside looking exhausted and disturbed. The moment Esther saw her face, she knew Sally had already discovered the bracelet was missing.
What happened? I can't find my bracelet.
The bracelet you always wear?
I've searched everywhere.
Calm down. Maybe you misplaced it. No, I kept it under my pillow before bathing. It will turn up. I hope so.
Sally looked tired, broken, confused, and somehow Esther still managed to comfort her while hiding the truth directly inside her wrapper. That was the scariest part. Later that night, after everybody slept, Esther quietly brought out a small wooden box from under her bed. She opened it slowly. Inside, wrapped carefully in cloth, was the bracelet. The stone reflected the candlelight softly. Esther stared at it silently for a long moment. Then slowly, she smiled. Esther completely stopped feeling guilty. The bracelet had changed everything. Every time she wore it to the market, customers rushed her store like magic. Money entered her hands faster than she could count it. Even Mattie became happier and stopped complaining constantly. Slowly, Esther began feeling like she deserved the bracelet more than Sally. After all, she had suffered too. She had struggled too. So why should Sally alone enjoy such a blessing? That thought became stronger every day. One evening, after returning from the market, Esther sat inside her room counting money with a smile on her face. The bracelet rested proudly on her wrist. For the first time in a long while, there was enough food in the house, enough money, enough peace. Esther touched the bracelet gently and smiled to herself.
This thing really changed my life.
That night, she cooked happily while wearing it. She moved around the kitchen proudly, admiring the bracelet every few minutes, like it truly belonged to her now. After eating, she carried her buckets to the bathroom. Her mind was elsewhere. She was still thinking about the money she would make the next market day, still dreaming about the kind of life she could finally have. Without realizing it, she entered the bathroom with the bracelet still on her wrist. Then, suddenly, a strange itching started on her arm. She frowned and scratched lightly, but the itching spread quickly. Her neck, her stomach, her back. Within seconds, it became unbearable.
What is this?
She scratched harder. The burning sensation spread rapidly across her body like invisible fire under her skin. Panic immediately took over. Esther rushed out of the bathroom half-dressed, scratching herself violently. Her skin felt like it was tearing apart.
Mattie! What happened to you?
I don't know! My body is burning!
The bracelet of the bracelet. Now the love will never die. Even when
She kept scratching herself desperately as she hurried towards Sally's compound.
make you cry.
Sally! Sally! Please come out! Esther, what happened to you?
Oh, Mama
I
came
don't know.
with
Something
empty
is happening
cup.
to my body.
Sally gave without a thought. Esther watched and knew her heart and used the trust she got. The bracelet, oh,
The bracelet! You took it? Sally, I'm sorry. I was going to return it, I swear. You stole from me. I was desperate. Please help me.
Esther cried while scratching herself painfully. Sally looked deeply hurt, not even because of the bracelet, but because it was Esther, her best friend, the person she trusted most. Then, suddenly, Sally noticed something else.
Did water touch it? What? The bracelet, did water touch it? Yes.
Fear immediately crossed Sally's face.
Let's go. What? Now?
Oh, Sally, oh, your morning will come. Sally, oh,
Where are we
Sally,
going?
oh,
to the wise one.
God never forget you.
After several minutes, they finally arrived at a small, lonely house at the edge of the village. An old man opened the door slowly before they even knocked properly. His eyes immediately landed on the bracelet, almost like he already knew why they came. Inside the small room, the old man carefully removed the bracelet from Esther's wrist. Immediately, Esther's scratching slowed down. The old man mixed herbs quietly and gave them to her.
Drink.
Esther obeyed quickly. Within minutes, the burning slowly began to reduce. Tears filled her eyes from relief. Sally remained quiet the entire time.
Some gifts are not meant to be shared.
Sally lowered her eyes quietly, because deep down, she knew he was right. Much later that night, the two girls walked silently back toward the village. Sally walked ahead holding the lantern. Esther followed quietly behind her. Neither of them spoke, and both girls knew the truth already. Their friendship would never be the same again. The next morning, Sally woke up feeling strangely heavy. She barely slept the entire night. The pain of Esther's betrayal still sat deeply inside her. For years, Esther had been more than just a friend to her. They grew up together, ate together, suffered together, and somehow, that same Esther stole from her. Sally dressed up and prepared for the market in silence. Even Junior noticed something was wrong immediately.
You didn't sleep? I'm fine.
But she was not fine. Nothing about her felt fine anymore. Sally carried her kegs and began the long walk to the market alone. That was what felt strangest, the silence beside her. No Esther talking, no laughter, no gossip, just silence. Meanwhile, Esther also prepared quietly that morning. For the first time in many years, she could not gather the courage to walk beside Sally. The shame was too heavy. By the time Sally arrived at the market, Esther was already there arranging her provisions. Their eyes met briefly. Then, both looked away immediately. The friendship between them had become cold overnight. Sally slowly arranged her kegs and sat down quietly. The bracelet still rested on her wrist. Then, customers started arriving again, one after another, just like before. The buyer still crowded her stall. The sales still moved quickly. Nothing had changed. Across the market, Esther watched silently. But this time, there was no jealousy in her eyes anymore, only regret. Hours passed. Then suddenly, Sally noticed someone standing far away near the market entrance. Nana. The old woman stood quietly watching her. Then Nana simply stared at her. Then suddenly, the bracelet on Sally's wrist glowed softly. The strange stone shined brightly for a few seconds. Then, the bracelet disappeared completely. Just like that. Gone. Sally gasped softly and quickly grabbed her wrist in shock. The customers around her noticed nothing. They continued buying normally. Sally, measure 2 bottles for me. Add 1 more. Keep my own aside. The crowd around her store remained exactly the same. Slowly, Sally looked around in confusion. The customers were still coming. The sales had not stopped. Nothing had changed. The bracelet was never the real blessing. It only opened her eyes to what had already been there all along. Her honesty, her kindness, her hard work, the way she treated people fairly, the way customers trusted her. That was the real reason people kept coming back. Not magic, not the bracelet. Sally slowly looked back toward the market entrance. Nana was still standing there watching her. This time, the old woman smiled softly. Then slowly, she turned and disappeared into the crowd. And somehow, Sally understood everything without another word being spoken. That evening, Sally packed her empty kegs and walked home peacefully. For the first time in a long time, her heart felt light. When she entered the compound, Junior immediately noticed the difference.
You look different. Maybe I am.
Later that night, after dinner, Sally finally told Junior everything. Everything. Junior listened quietly without interrupting once. Then, Junior sighed softly and shook his head.
You shouldn't trust everybody.
I know that now.
Not everybody who smiles with you truly wants good for you. And sometimes, the greatest blessing was never magic. It was the good heart you carried all along.
Sally, oh, Sally, oh, your morning go come.